Chapter 75 to 77. Soon after witnessing the miracle of Amon's medicine, the spectators slowly started to regain their composure. This wasn't the only medicine Amon has to offer. In fact, there were more than 59 medicines in Amon's collection. They were created with the combined help of the scientists at Clockwork Island and Amon himself. Even so, the fact that Amon was able to create such medicine is proof of his great medical knowledge. Though compared to the ones up there, he was nothing. Amon formed a twisted smirk in his mind, while Cobra's had a serious face. He ordered some guards to take Vivi into her room, and some maid to look after her. He understood something. The reason this young warlord came here isn't something he can look down upon. Quickly ordering some guards to prepare a room for their meeting, Cobra guided Amon there. There was a need of secrecy for this talk, more so since Amon himself requested it. So, Lucifer, how much for the medicine formulas? Cobra asked with his professional face towards Amon, who was sitting on the sofa opposite to him. Amon was also trying to be as professional as he could. Currently, he was in a business suit and tie. He looked pretty neat with his white wings which saturated his black suit. Also, is this suit of yours purchasable as well? Seeing Cobra asking that with a serious face, Amon crackled up. Not that it bothered Cobra at all. Stopping his laugh, Amon looked ahead. We'll talk about it later. First of all, do me a favor and stop the news of Warlord Lucifer coming to Alabasta Palace with his people. I don't want it out further than this palace. Cobra nodded instantly. There is no need for your worry, Lucifer. It's quite clear to us that you are being secretive, so I took your people to another room after you left for Vivi. Currently, only 5 people beside me know that the leader of the visitors that came to Alabasta is actually one of the warlords, Lucifer. Amon smiled, satisfied. 5 people besides Cobra wasn't a problem. If you don't mind, I'd like to meet them later, separately. It's always better to double-check. Forgive me if I'm being too much, but that's a thing I need to do. Considering for a second, Cobra shook its head. It's alright, after all, you saved Vivi. Even more so, you treated all those wounds that would have taken a month or more to heal mostly. While the hot wind blew Amon's hair to the side, he laughed after glancing at the descent, outside of the window. It's no problem. Rather, we should talk about the important thing. After chatting for a while, on the small details. Like why Amon didn't just ask for an appointment for a meeting using his authority, or why Cobra couldn't reach him, and many more. He also showed some medicines and their practical use by cutting Amon's flesh and using them. Though Cobra was against it, he was forced to watch. After a few hours of talking, Amon moved on to the main topic. His offer. Haha, anyway. Although everything you showed was a masterpiece, I assume you are not here to only sell some medicine. Cobra said with his hands clasped together. Or there would have been no reason to bring your people here, as well I presume. Hearing him, Amon picked a glass from the table and took a sip of the wine. He was quite fine with the taste of it by now. He used the line he's prepared for a long time now. You are right. As expected of a king, you are sharp. I'm not here to sell some medicine at all. He placed the glass on the table. In fact, we are here to request an alliance with the Kingdom of Alabasta and the Kingdom of the Sky, Skypea. Cobra stayed silent hearing him. He had a hunch this was the case, but he was very hesitant to agree even though Amon did save Vivi. After all, his own kingdom wasn't doing much good. It would be quite irresponsible for a king to accept such an offer. Because, although there is rarely any rain, the country's economy was still standing fine. However, for a while now there has been barely any rain in the country. It's as if God was displeased with them, or maybe it was a human doing in the end. Cobra was offered the rain powder which helps with raining already, but that's very harmful to his country in the long run. He rejected the offer. He didn't want to absorb his citizens' fate like that. Never ever. Considering all that, accepting an alliance with a newly founded country, unauthorized by WG, would not do him and his kingdom any good. Although the leader of that place, the king, is a warlord, it didn't seem like the young man had any plans to use his powers to get the authorization. Should I? Old Cobra. Interrupting his thoughts, Amon called out. I'm aware of what you are thinking. Let me explain. Amon moved his lips. Cobra had a frown as he started to talk. Normally when 2 countries ally, they get a 50-50 benefit. To compare, it's like a marriage between humans. Both parties gain benefits, normally a half-half benefit. Most counties won't be satisfied with such a thing, and would normally try to plot on each other's back. However, this offer was worse than normal cases. The benefits are leaning towards Skypea, more Alabasta close to non-existent. Unlike marriage, it's more like adopting a child which won't grant the other party any help. Saying some words, Amon smiled lightly and got up from his seat. Let me show you some benefits. There is a reason that I asked for a meeting with no other people in the room. Amon looked at the noon sky, out of the window. This alliance ain't a 5:5. Amon moved his gaze at Cobra with a grin. It's a 9:1. Yes, 9 you, and 1 us.
Dude.
While Cobra looked confused, Amon flashed from his sight and teleported at a large chunk of cloud 6K M on the sky. Rumble. King Cobra POV. Rumble. What is happening? My country, which hardly rains, is having a thunderstorm. Impossible. Incredible. The sky turned dark in the time frame of seconds, and the whole Alyabarna city was covered in a giant black cloud. JHHH. Rain started falling. It's been 3 months since I felt this cool breeze. Enjoying the droplets of water in my face, I took a deep breath. Just how is this possible? No, that's not the question. It's easy to discern that it's that boy who is doing this. This is hardly believable. What type of power is this? The ability to change the weather? Rumble. Thunder. A thunderstrike fell in the desert, and a small portion of the sand turned into glass. Incredible. Now his words make sense. If my country rains every time it needs to, it won't be wrong to say that we would just be below the world government at power. But will it rain every day? Every time I want? Every time my citizens need it? Yes, it should be possible. If Lucifer does this every now and then in my country, then my country won't be like this anymore. With the rain, we would be able to farm crops freely as well. The places where my county is drying out will regain life. Now nice rain is. General POV. Amon returned to the room in a bolt of thunder under the eyes of Cobra's eyes full of curiosity. Amon just smiled at him. Yo, what was that power? Cobra asked, his eyes looking lost. Don't mind the small details. Amon giggled like an innocent angel. His body wasn't wet even though he just came back after starting a rain. By the way, this is just a small part of what we the people of the sky can do. Amon again flashed and the next moment returned with a bag of dials in his hand. Let me show you the main power of us. Amon grinned brightly. Let us review some dials. Under Cobra's curious gaze, Amon started to show him different kinds of dials. This time they weren't medicine-based. Rather, they were mainly just cloud-based ones. Only cloud ones, after all, he didn't want to expose his trump cards. So, this certain cloud dial is special. Amon had a large seashell in his hand. You need someone who can fly to go, and stick them with a normal cloud flying in the sky. After that, a few hours later that cloud would start raining. This way, you won't need me to be present there always. With this, Amon his products. Alright, that's all for now. Putting down the dials, Amon leaned back in his chair with a breath. It took a long and tiring time to help calm the curious king down. Cobra gulped. He took some time to take in everything he saw just now. In the end, only one word could describe this. Incredible. Using the dials, I won't have to be relying on him all day either. It is better for us this way. Cobra was overall more than satisfied. However, there were some problems. Unfortunately, each of them expires after a month of use, so I would need a supply of them every month. He released a long sigh. Although I can use the kingdom scientists to try and copy them, it will just be a bad idea to plot against a warlord of the sea. Cobra was trying to reach a conclusion. He was still a bit hesitant to form an alliance. After all, if he does, it's impossible to back away from it, or a war will start. A war? After seeing these gadgets, I'm not sure if we would win against this new country. Especially so, when a warlord is on its side. Wiping his forehead sweat with a tissue, Cobra got lost in thought. Let me be honest, Amon's call brought him out in reality. Alabasta is the best possible ally for us currently. Hearing his line, Cobra raised his head. The thing is, not every country would need my cloud dials, so I can't really form an alliance with, for example, let's say Dressrosa. They don't need rain, and we have no other thing to offer other than rain, Amon said as Cobras had started to reach a conclusion. Among the sandy countries, Alabasta is the biggest and strongest. Although there is a lack of resources, as long as there is enough land, resources can be produced with rain. Amon sighed. He was making it seem like Skypiean would be gaining more from the alliance, thus using the reverse physiology effect and making Cobra believe. In fact, Alabasta was gaining more. Cobra almost lost his emotion, but he was able to surpass his grin. Yeah, unless it's a desert place which needs rain, these products are useless. The fish took the bait. Amon grinned internally. You are right, but there is a fact that you need to pay attention to, he said. I help you, and you help me. Both of our countries would only fall lower in the food chain, Amon said with a strange smile, the smile he trained for years to negotiate. In the end, we both need each other. I'm opening my weakness to you so that we can have a long-term, trusting relationship. We are a perfect match. While Cobra's previous winning face froze, Amon continued. Besides that, we will also... Amon started to talk more, while Cobra nodded at his every sentence. All of his words made sense. In the end, both of them will gain things that would be impossible with each other's help. They were a perfect match for each other. Cobra knew if he played his cards right, he could deal a good deal. If he looked at it, his kingdom would gain more than Amon's. After discussing for hours, and even calling his surprised and shocked subordinates for advice, Cobra and Amon reached an understanding. Then it's decided, we will be together. Cobra shook hands with Amon, who was smiling reassuringly. It's nice working with you. Cobra laughed lightly hearing him. Haha, don't say that yet. The contract will be prepared in a day. You can say that after signing it. Ha ha ha. Amon also laughed as sat back on a sofa, while Cobra did the same. Alright, it's been a long day. You even used your strange powers to call rain. You must be tired. We have prepared rooms for you and your people. Please take some rest. Amon shook his head. Not yet. There is something more important here, he said as Cobra raised his eyebrows in curiosity. He was in his Scheme King mode. This has been a very profitable deal for him. Any new offer, and he'll grab it swiftly. Sensing his greed, Amon chuckled lightly and leaned forward, his elbow resting on his knees and his hands clasped together. There is another offer I want to make. Cobra laughed internally, which froze with his next line. What do you think about giving the princess hand in marriage? Of course, I'm the groom. Cobra's face froze, while Amon had a large grin. There are 3 forces in this world. The rulers of the whole world. The world government. The 4 forces who act like the emperors of this world. The Yonko. The 7 pillars aiding the world government. The Shichibukai. Looking ahead of him, Cobra was going through the definition of what a Shichibukai, a warlord of the sea, was. In this world, one warlord definitely held more power than a single king of a random or even powerful kingdom. Amon's offer was very tempting. Cobra wouldn't have to worry about Vivi's future and her safety at all if she were to marry a warlord. Cobra had a visible frown on his face contemplating this. But the thing is, this is very sudden for such an offer. Besides, it's very intriguing why a warlord would act this way. After all, none of the warlords are married. At least according to my knowledge, they aren't. With twisted emotions, Cobra was trying to think of a beneficial deal. This was where Amon got him. Until now he was on the winning side, or that's what Amon showed him he was. The winning stake got into his head, and now he was trying to win again, albeit this time he was trying to use his daughter. Though he soon realized he shouldn't make a deal using his daughter. No, not Vivi. She is my baby. I can't use her in political fights. Cobra shook his head at the thought. Old man, let me clarify something. Amon caught his interest. This is not a political offer. It's a personal one. Our previous offers would still stand even after a rejection of this one. As if reading his mind, Amon replied confidentially. He had reasons for this action. He wasn't horny enough to go after an 8-year-old. If I really feel horny, I'd rather go after Boa Hancock. She's easy to get and powerful. This is an entirely different matter. Amon had plans for Alabasta. Vivi will be the medium of his influence here. Internally snickering to himself, Amon searched for words that would make even Cobra agree to him. I just feel interested in the little girl. Hey, don't look at me like that. Seeing Cobra look at him with strange eyes, Amon yelled. I'm not that old. A 14-year-old can go after 8 years old, at least in Alabasta, where there is no legal age of consent. Amon said while Cobra frowned. It's true, Alabasta didn't have any legal age for consent. Basically, it wasn't illegal for a 40-year-old man to marry a 12-year-old. But since something like moral was still a thing, it didn't happen that often. To Cobra, these types of things seemed morally wrong even though he himself can supposedly change this fact anytime. He didn't, since this is an ancient rule. Wait. Suddenly, Cobra rephased over his words. 14 years old. What do you mean? You look at least 16, at most 17, Cobra said while Amon shrugged.
What?
I'm tall. Look at the Yonkos, they are massive. Cobra couldn't find any words to fend off his claims. The thing is, not even considering that he won't accept, just the fact of letting his 8-year-old daughter marry a hormonal teen seemed weird. He would just reject. Before you reject, I don't want to marry her yet. I mean, it's just wrong. Think about it, she is 8. Cutting his thoughts off halfway, Amon acted like he completely agreed with him. In fact, if it was someone else other than myself, I would have beaten him to death myself. While Cobra blinked at his words, Amon punched the air. Then, he looked spaced out. Hypocrisy? Cobra questioned himself, dumbfounded. Ahem. You see, I don't mean marriage right now, Amon said and sat down on the sofa. He loosened his tie a bit. I meant to say, make us have an engagement. Amon smiled lightly. I won't use my identity as the Skypiean king for it, by the way. I will use my warlord one. Amon took an apple from the table. Imagine how much help your kingdom would get just from that. Cobra had a frown while sweats were dripping from his forehead. This really was the best thing he could ever hope for. Although he would never force his baby to marry anyone and wanted to leave it up to herself to choose a husband, this offer was good for both herself and the kingdom. This is something very hard to decline. Not only that it might offend Lucifer, but the fact that my kingdom, more so my baby, will get the protection of a warlord is enough to agree. Besides that, there was also that Skypea and Alabasta would then have a blood pact, thus they would never betray each other. It was a win-win situation for Cobra himself, however. Phew, I'm sorry. Reading a breath, Cobra bowed down lightly. Your offer is tempting, but I would not choose for Vivi, it's up to her. You can take back the previous offer if you feel like it, but I won't give away Vivi for a political benefit. While Cobra kept his head down, Amon stayed silent. He was pretty infuriated inside though. Fuck, why? Just accept the shitty offer already. It's such a great deal. Ugh, why are people of this world this stupidly honest? Not long after, he sighed. Not that it matters. I have other cards on my sleeve. I have the power of being able to lie. Raise your head, Amon said lightly with a sigh. As I said already, the previous offer would still stand. They would be unchanged despite the new offer's validity. While Cobra abruptly raised his head with a relieved sigh, Amon smiled. But let's not end the discussion yet. Let me offer you something better. Grinning lightly, Amon took out a dial. This is a video player dial. Watch the clip it has in it. After a short silence, Cobra sighed and picked up the dial. He won't change his mind at all, not after he already rejected such a generous offer. I am possible. In the clip, different people were using their powers. Kazara moving using his light ability to blow away houses, Akiji using his ice to freeze the sea, and finally, Whitebeard using his tremor power to cause a tsunami in the sea. As a warlord, it was easy to get the marine clips, but the Whitebeard clip was of pure luck. He was flying towards Raijin Island when he sensed the fight between some pirates. At first, he wanted to collect their bounty, but seeing the people who were fighting, he decided otherwise. In the end, he got some good destructive clips that would scare the living shit out of normal people, doesn't matter if the normal people is a king. As such powers. Cobra has heard about these powers previously, but this was his first time seeing them in action. He wondered, what was this device? But that question soon changed. The question was, why was he showing them to him? You'd just be questioning why I'm showing them to you, right? Amon smiled. Let me explain. This is a world of monsters. A few minutes later, Cobra's body was shaking while sweat was dripping down his face. Something like these is possible? See? You guys are lucky to be in the paradise part, but that luck might run out anytime. What if a Yonko decides to take over here? Amon asked him as he stopped breathing. What would you do? What would happen to Vivi-chan then? Suddenly hearing his last line, Cobra frowned. And what do you propose? He asked instantly. Can she be safe just by being with you? Amon grinned. Yes, she will. I guarantee that. And why would I believe you? Haha, you're a hard one to crack. Amon laughed lightly before stopping. I'm strong, but that's not enough to guarantee Vivi's 100% safety. Rather, I have something better. I can offer her individual power. Amon continued. I didn't show you the power of those monsters just to scare you. Rather, it was mainly to show you the powers of devil fruits. Raising his finger, Amon continued. What I plan to give her is a devil fruit. Cobra frowned. No, I don't want my baby to lose her ability to swim for a random devil fruit. Hear me out, will you? Amon cut him. It's not a random, it's a Logia. After a short silence of surprise, Cobra's eyes arched up. Logia. For a man at his standing, Logia translated to invincibility. Which, Logia? When Cobra gulped internally, Amon grinned. A suitable one for your kingdom. Logia. Sand fruit. Your daughter would be a literal goddess of sandy islands. Not even those monsters would be able to hurt her at all. Meanwhile, 10,000 meters under the sea, on Fishman Island, the Queen of Fishmen, Odoheim was preparing to leave for the Blue Sea, Marahoy's to be specific. Long ago, the fated celestial dragon came to Fishman Island. He was then saved by Odoheim from his former slaves who was trying to kill him. Still not being grateful for the act, the celestial dragon was about to leave with the destruction of Fishman Island in his mind. However, at the last moment, Odoheim decided to accompany him as well in the excuse that he was still injured. Wah! Mother! Don't leave Shirahoshi alone. Like always, the mermaid princess was crying. But this time, she was crying while holding onto her mother, while King Neptune smiled kindly at her. Back off, Shira. Your mom is going on a great journey, he said with a laugh. A few days later, you can see the forest you always wanted to see. Odoheim smiled hearing him. Indeed, she will. A sweet moment was born at that time. The celestial dragon looked at the scene with his veins popped up, yet had a strange emotion lingering within his eyes. His kind has treated this bunch as monsters and slaves up until now. Lower beings, they said. Groaning. The man then looked away. I guess she can come. Right now, he didn't know that so long after, he was going to use his powers to help them. The revolution would happen, Fishman Island would go up on the surface, or would it? Meanwhile, in Alabasta, Cobra was having a blanked-out expression. Hellos. Wait a second, you mean, Sir Crocodile's fruit? Suddenly realizing this fact, Cobra asked dumbfounded. He is offering a fruit eaten by a person already? Is he trying to scam me? Frowning, Cobra glared at Amon. What? Don't look at me like that, it's not crocodile's fruit. Tell me, do you even know his fruit's name? Amon said. In fact, how many people know about it anyway? People only know it's a sand-based logia, that's all. Amon shrugged at him. It was true that people didn't know crocodile's fruit name. If they did, they might have theorized his weakness a long time ago as well. And how do you prove that? I mean, the fact that his fruit isn't the same one you were talking about? Don't misunderstand. Even if I'm pretty lost at these things, I do know that the same elemental logia can't exist. Also, it's suspicious as to why you want to give a logia to Vivi. She is no one to you. Cobra threw him a question, at which Amon shrugged again. Listen, first of all, I'm not giving it away. You can take it as a wedding gift, I won't give it before we get married, not even after the engagement. Amon smiled lightly. After I marry Vivi, I'd want her, my wife, to be strong enough to protect herself. I don't want any harm to reach her. By then she would be my wife. I would do everything to protect her. Amon said with a seriously determined face. Seeing this, Cobra was forced to believe his words. It's true after all, one would definitely come to love their soulmate and would want them to be safe. Though Cobra would never have had such a thought if he knew about Amon's inside thoughts. I see. Cobra clenched his jaws to not say the words, I agree. Please protect my daughter. He had one more question. This still doesn't answer my question. How do you prove you will give me the sand logia fruit? I refuse to believe Sir Crocodile's fruit isn't the one you stated. Amon just snickered at his words. Let me show you the real world. Snap. Crack. Rumble. Amon snapped his fingers as a loud rumbling sounded out from his body. His body became blue, and white thunder could be seen flowing through his veins. This was Garo Garo no Mi's ability to generate rumbles. Since the fruit's English name is the rumble fruit, it would have been pretty strange if it couldn't do the thing it was named after. By snapping his fingers, clapping his hands, and in some other ways, Amon can release a destructible sound wave. This can be considered a low-key version of Whitebeard's tremor powers, very, very low-key. While Cobra jumped backwards, the king's guards ran into the room. What happened? They called out loud, while Amon's body had already returned to normal as he yawned. Call Wiper in this room. Tell him it's me. Looking at the room, which was filled with shattered glasses from the furniture and windows, the guards gulped. Nonetheless, they did what Amon asked them off with the king's gesture. Not long after, Wiper arrived and was ordered to show off his fire powers to the king. He did as Amon asked, while the king watched the scene with wide eyes. Previously, he has seen Admiral Akainu use his powers in the clip that Amon showed. He was quite shocked seeing such a similar power from Wiper. Wiper was sent back, and the king was left speechless. Amon smiled from the other side. Ahem, the thing I want to say is, there are many similar powers in this world. Even many logias are similar to each other. There is something called a snow fruit as well, a lower version of Admiral Akiji's ice fruit. Amon said as Cobra nodded with a sweat on his forehead. Yes, even though similar logia elements can coexist, they are usually lower/higher versions than the other one. Cobra could only nod in understanding. What I want to give is a higher level than what Crocodile has to offer. If a fight between Vivi and Crocodile happens in the future, then Vivi will come out winning. Amon said with a smile as he picked up the grapes on the table. Of course, he was bullshitting. The fruits are the same one. He would just kill Crocodile since he is a big inconvenience to his plans. At first, after killing Croc, he wanted to give out his fruit to someone under him. But there weren't many people who were perfect for the fruit. Besides, the sky didn't have a speck of sand in it. The powers of the fruit would significantly downgrade when used in the sky. The best action here would be to kill Croc, take his fruit, give it to someone and send her to a sandy region, or the best sandy region in this world, Alabasta. However, even though sending someone here with this power is a good idea, there was a better plan. It was to get Vivi, who is supposedly an important character of this world from what Amon recalled from the manga's Reverie arc. Although it's probably not something cliché like being the ancient weapon Uranus itself, she may be the person who can command the weapon. Besides, it didn't hurt to have a princess as a wife. She can be later on used as a pawn who would rule Alabasta if the king ever accidentally died. Well, if she disappoints me, I will just kill. Currently, Amon was laughing internally. But I would prepare her to not disappoint me. It's my speciality after all. Although morally questionable, Amon was good at manipulating little girls. So it was a good thing for both sides. It's been a while since, along with Robin, he decided to take Vivi as his wife, nurture her as he seemed fit, and use her to control the Sandy Islands. Just like how as a god of the sky with his lightning powers, she would be a goddess of the desert with her sand powers. A perfect match? After some more words, Cobra was left with no other choice but to accept. It was too beneficial to him after all, or so he thought. Sai, this is a request. Please treat her nicely. Korba said with a worn-out expression. Obviously father-in-law. Oh, by the way, my father's name was also Cobra. What a coincidence. Vivi and I were made for each other. Cobra just sighed at his words. This was enough to prove his age as well. He's a child. Did I make the right choice? Only time will tell. Cobra shook his head lightly. At least it is a beneficial deal. Unlike his belief. All in all, the deals were on the sides of Skypiea the whole time. Skypiea can now bloom like a flower in this world, and will also grow with the limitless resources from Amon and Alabasta. It won't take so long for them to become one of the top forces. Yes, Alabasta is gaining a lot from this as well, but isn't that to Amon's benefit? After all, can Cobra still call Alabasta my kingdom? No, he can't, because from now on, it's our kingdom. A perfect plan does exist. This was that plan. Then please arrange things for the engagement. 6 days later. The kingdom of Alabasta had invited its nobles and many other royalties from different regions, because it was a day of celebration today. Today, the princess of Alabasta was getting engaged to one of the 7 warlords. It was a grand party, and the people attending it mostly were in luxurious dresses. They were in small groups of 6 most of the time, while some were left alone. The Skypieans were being treated as special guests, while everyone only knew them as the new ally of Alabasta. They were eating blue seafood with excited faces. In a corner, Isa was with Isa. Did that kid really make the king agree in letting his daughter marry him? Just how much influence does a warlord possess? Isa was a little perplexed, yet felt proud looking at Amon. Although it's morally questionable, I guess they aren't going to do any intercourse before becoming adults. So, it's fine, I think. Isa smiled when she moved Amon looking towards her from far. Ah, he has become such a charismatic child. Isa felt pride rise in her chest, while Isa kept eating sweets on the side. Meanwhile, a small group was gossiping. Haha, wow, who would have thought the dying country would ever succeed at smacking deals with 2 warlords? More so, one of them is now the crown prince of the kingdom. Yes, how lucky. It seems like Alabasta would rise again soon. Luckily, my kingdom was always at their side. Heh, stop lying. Also, have you heard about their new ally as well? Oh, them. I heard they are a newfound kingdom. They gained the authorization to exist after Lucifer asked the WG. Apparently, Alabasta's king especially requested Lucifer to do this betting since this new kingdom has a very close relationship with Alabasta. In payment, Lucifer asked for the princess' hand in marriage, or so the rumor says. People were talking left and right. The nobles of the kingdom, and even kings and queens from different nations all across the world were gossiping. Among them, there was also the king of Drum Island, the island where Chopper lives. Move away, let us take pictures. Many reporters, most likely from Morgan's company, were there taking photos. It was a big event after all. It won't take even a day for the whole world to know about Lucifer's relationship with Alabasta, just as Amon wanted. Currently, in the massive hall room, the engagement was being held. Though there were whispers about the warlord being interested in little girls, and also how he's a playboy and whatnot. Though they vanished the next second they were spoken. The person was a warlord after all. Besides, this is the country's culture. They can't interfere with it. Meanwhile, Vivi was having a hard time maintaining her composure. The dress is stiff. She was never in such a noble dress, even on her birthdays. She was pretty confused at the development, but her 8-year-old mind couldn't think of a bad thing here. What's happening? Father said it's fine, it's not marriage. I already said I won't marry anyone. Vivi silently shook her head. If this is not marriage, I guess it's fine. This was like a bond between her and her savior. She felt indebted if anyone questioned her of it. Though by the time she gets old enough to realize what happened this day, she would be deep in incurable love. Going forward with this development, she had a smile on her face with Amon by her side. Meanwhile, Robin was chatting with nobles and royalties from other kingdoms. She was trying to gather information even now. Foo. The wingless Valkyries are always on the side of innocence. If your country wants our help, just call through the dial, Robin said to the red-haired princess of Melromark country in front of her. Then, can I get an appointment with Mr. Lucifer? While the princess fried to get under Amon's skin, Robin rejected firmly. You can talk with me about everything. It seems the main event is going to start. Excuse me. Saying this with courtesy, Robin left from there as the girl just bit her lips. Robin stared at Amon preparing to wear the ring given by Vivi, while he was doing the same. She felt a little strange seeing Amon getting engaged more so with a little girl, but her other side, who was the one to actually suggest such a thing in the first place, kept her safe. Though barely, she was still standing on her shaky legs. Full. I'm just his made-up sister. Robin shook her head. This was one of the reasons why Amon didn't go the romance route with Robin. Things would have been messed up if he did so. Meanwhile, Raki, who was standing just beside Robin, had an expressionless face. She was just looking at the scene in front of her with her hollow eyes. Fuck. Not that it matters. Nothing she couldn't handle. A blue-haired little girl wasn't intimidating to her. Far from her, Crocodile was also there. He had Makita beside him, who had a smile on her face. Amon has talked with her before, so everything was cool. Crocodile was dumbfounded when he heard the news of the engagement. He spent one day thinking about why he never thought of doing the same. Though it was too late now, he prepared himself more cautiously than before. Under everyone's mixed gazes, the engagement was done in a day. Amon was one step closer towards his initial goal.